Hey guys, welcome back. This is Versus, a scripture and sports podcast with Slayton Huish. I am your host, Slayton Huish. And tonight we're going to be talking about some college football. And we're going to talk about someone that I feel is not getting enough love in the Heisman conversation with our Versus shout. So we're going to go ahead and get started. First, we're going to focus on college football. This weekend in Tempe, we had quite the exciting game. As Arizona State upsetted 16th ranked Utah 27-19 at Sun Devil Stadium. And here to talk about that game with us, we actually have a special guest who was at that game, my younger brother, Tillman Huish. Tillman, welcome to Versus.
Yeah, feels good. Thanks for the invite. Really excited to talk about ASU football.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us. So Tillman, you were in the stadium on Friday night, nationally televised game, annual blackout. Can you give me a rundown of what the atmosphere was like at Sun Devil Stadium?
Yeah, so the atmosphere was great. I mean, you were getting hyped, ready for the game, man. I mean, it's an ASU game. You're walking in, playing a top 20 team in the nation. What else can you expect? I mean, everybody wants an upset, right? And so you're walking in. There's the ASU security people were handing out black t-shirts for people to wear because it was blackout, as you said. And yeah, everybody was just super hyped. You could feel there was tension, and it was fun to be there for sure.
That's awesome. You speak of tension. Was it like good tension? Like, oh, we're so excited for this game? Or was it like, and we're playing the 16th ranked team in the nation?
Nah, I feel like it was more exciting tension because we were like, man, if we get this win, it'll be good for us. It'll be good. We get another win in the Big 12, and yeah, it was just great tension.
Yeah, like I mentioned, it was a nationally televised game, and I definitely feel Arizona State capitalized a big win. I want to talk to you about, in my opinion, the MVP of the game. I want to talk about the Arizona State defense. You have a guy like Cale McCullough, who's not even supposed to be playing, backup linebacker, goes out, has a game of his life, 12 tackles, 2 interceptions, including the one that sealed the game at the end. The defense intercepting Cam Rising. While I will be the first to admit, he was limited. News actually just broke about 30 minutes ago that he's actually going to be out for the year with a lower leg injury. Kyle Winningham announced today that he's out indefinitely. Later this evening, it was announced that he's out for the season. So they'll be turning to Isaac Wilson for the rest of the year. But going back to Friday, the defense, Tillman, really held their own against a preliminary defense in college football, not just the Big 12 in Utah. As someone who was in the building, what did it mean for the audience to see the defense really show out?
Yeah, I mean, the defense was definitely a big key part in this game. Caleb McCullough definitely stepped up for sure. He was all around the field. I mean, he was running all over the place. It looked like he was just like ready to go. He was ready for his time to shine. I mean, I wouldn't say he's a backup linebacker, but I would say he is definitely the 1B linebacker instead of the 1A. And so I feel he played out of his mind. I mean, right, Cam Rising was injured, but he was there to jump up the A gap and stuff. Micah Bernard, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it wasn't just guys like Cale McCullough. Obviously, he stands out with the 12 tackles and 2 interceptions. You guys like Miles Rouser, who were flying all over the field, making tackles. Simmons was flying around making great tackles as well. And I really feel like the defensive line really put pressure on Rising, which is something that, their O-line is really, really good. And when Rising had to step back to make a pass, I feel like the D-line was there almost every drop back.
Yeah, the defensive line was definitely there, but I do feel our defensive line did step up. Our defensive line got much pressure on Cam Rising, even though he was limited and couldn't move as much. But that was a big key to the passing game, is getting pressure on Cam Rising for sure.
I agree. So obviously something we saw on ESPN after the game was the students did storm the field. Now, I personally allowed it. I typically don't like field storming if it's like a non-top 10 team. Like Utah's ranked number 16. It's not like Arizona State's never beaten a ranked team before. But considering this is the first ranked team that has gone down in the Kenny Dillingham era, I allowed it. From your perspective, Tillman, you obviously got to go down on the field and enjoy the field storming with the students and the other fans. What was that like to take part in a unique way, the first marquee victory in the Kenny Dillingham?
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing. I ended up going down on the field, but yeah, dude, the students brought a different vibe, and Kenny especially. I hope you guys saw that ESPN clip of his interview. That clip was shout out Kenny, man. That clip was amazing. Those students are different this year. You can feel it. The energy is definitely there, and on the field, the players were going crazy, and man, it was definitely a fun experience to be out on that field.
Yeah, I think it's one thing when people say that Kenny Dillingham is 34 years old. It's a completely other thing when you see him interact with students and you're like, oh yeah, this guy's only like 10 years older than a lot of these college students. And he said it in his interview. He's like, I was one of these guys, man. I was doing this, and he's jumping up and down, mosh pitting. I felt bad for the sideline reporter. He was getting clobbered. One of the things I did want to go over, the offense, while it didn't seem like it flowed too well, I feel like you credit Utah's amazing defense and limiting Sam Levitt, and kind of limited Cam Skattebo until the very end when Cam Skattebo went beast mode with that 50-yard run and the 47-yard touchdown run. What was it like in the stadium watching Cam blow up?
Everybody in ASU loves Cam Skattebo. Every time we get the ball on offense, there's people screaming, run the ball, Cam, run the ball. And it's always run the ball because you already know Cam Skattebo is an automatic 4 or 5 yard gain on a first or second down. Cam is an absolute beast, and he just loves it here, man. He loves being here. He definitely shows out, as you can tell, and yeah, he's just a freaking beast. I mean, I don't know any other way to put it.
Yeah, Cam Skattebo is definitely the focal point of the offense. I mean, you hope Sam Levitt over the next 3 years really develops into a more well-rounded quarterback, and he shows flashes. But I do think that hit he took in the second quarter definitely rung his bell, and they were very hesitant to use him in any run scheme in the second half, which I think is smart. But even someone like Jeff Sims, backup quarterback, has experience, comes in, gets a rushing touchdown in a crucial spot in the game, it turned out to be. That not only echoes to Sims' individual preparedness, but also the culture that Kenny is building of, you never know when your number's going to be called, but I need you to go out there, I need you to be focused, and I need you to play hard. Again, someone who is there and someone who gets a first eye glance at watching these kids play. I want to get your thoughts moving forward. We're now at the halfway point of the season. The Sun Devils are 5-1. They're knocking on the door of the AP top 25. I think they're ranked 28 right now in the AP poll. They got 6 games left. If I had told you at the beginning of the year that Arizona State finishes 8-4, what would you have told me?
I would have said you were crazy. I mean,
yeah,
because last year, man, we went 3-9, I believe.
Yep, 3-9.
And we did not look promising. But I would have thought you were like crazy if you said we were going to finish this year 8-4.
Yeah, and that is definitely a reality. And that would be if we split every game on the way out. If we went 3-3 in the next 7 weeks, we're 8-4. We're getting not just a bowl game, we're getting a pretty good bowl game at 8-4. Definitely something that I would have probably laughed in your face. I thought the ceiling of this team was going to be like 6-6. Maybe they squeak into a bowl game at 5-7, but they have definitely exceeded expectations. And again, I see that in the depth, you see that in the talent, and like you said, you see it in the heart that these guys play with. Of these games, and this is the question I kind of want to leave us with. Like I said, if we split, we go 8-4, and that would be like we play 500 ball the rest of the way out. So of the 6 games remaining, what 3 games do you feel Arizona State has to win to get to 8-4?
I feel like they got to win this week. I mean, Cincinnati, I do feel like Cincinnati is a good team, but those boys got to be ready. But I feel like this week is a win for sure. But we are at home against UCF. I feel like we need to win that one. UCF just benched KJ Jefferson and went to their freshman quarterback. I feel like we need to win that game. It's at home. Games will be packed for that one because any Big 12 game, the stands have been at least 80%, 85% filled. We got at Arizona on November 30th, or as I should say, the team down south. November 30th at Arizona. Arizona has been way too overhyped this year. Noah Fafita, they're asking way too much of him. Tedero McMillan, they're asking way too much of him as well. I think ASU goes to Tucson and gets the dub. So I feel like we should end somewhere around 9-3 or 9-3.
That's crazy, dude. If you would have told me at the beginning of the year 9-3 is even a possibility, I would have probably spit my drink out. I'll be a little bit less optimistic than you are. I think the 3 games ASU has to win. I think they got to beat UCF. Actually, no, I'll say this. The 3 wins we need to have in order for me to feel like this is a great season. We beat UCF, we beat BYU at home, and we beat U of A. Obviously, beating U of A, that's like a prereq to having a great season.
Yes.
Again, beating BYU, another ranked team at home, assuming BYU is still going to be ranked, and then taking care of another team of UCF. I mean, I think if we can beat those three teams, I'll be like happy with that. And if we win some kind of variety of those three, specifically include U of A, I'll be very, very happy. So anyway, that's going to do it for this interview with Tillman Huish as we recap the ASU Utah game, get an inside view of what Mountain America Stadium looked like last Friday. As we talk about the future of this program, not just for this year, but for years to come. I think every Sun Devil fan can agree that in Kenny we trust, and there really is something special brewing in Arizona. Tillman, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I hope to have you on again soon.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and it was fun to talk about sports for sure.
Yep. Go Devils.
Go Devils, baby.
Alrighty, once again, I want to thank our special guest, Tillman Huish, for joining me earlier here on Versus 2.1, the first sports edition episode of the Versus podcast with Slayton Huish. Appreciate his valuable insights and everything he shared and things we talked about in relation to Arizona State in the Utah game and Arizona State football moving forward as this season as a program, as well as in the future. I want to end this episode of Versus with a Versus shout-out. This shout-out goes to somebody who, even though has been recently ranked as the number one player in college football, is a Heisman favorite, I still don't feel that this in particular football player is getting the love he deserves. So I'm going to give him some love here on the Versus shout-out on the Versus podcast. Week's shout-out goes to Ashton Jeanté, the running back out of Boise State University. If you don't know about him, you have not been watching college football at all. Ashton Jeanté of the Boise State Broncos is a literal walking first down. 6 games this year, he is averaging 9.9 yards a carry. If we just look at his stats here for the season, his 126 carries for 1,248 yards, 17 touchdowns. Oh, also, no fumbles. Season low in rushing total this year is 127 yards. And it was in a game where he only had 11 carries and was benched midway through the third quarter. As number 2, now ranked Oregon, he had 25 carries for 192 yards and 3 touchdowns, including a 70-yard touchdown run. It's not like he's doing it against bad competition. It's not like he's doing it against scrubs. He's doing it against good teams, middle of the road teams, and bad teams. He's doing it against everybody. He is literally running for a first down every time he touches the ball. Against Utah State, where he had 13 carries for 186 yards, averaging 14.3 yards per carry and 3 touchdowns. Another notable game of his came against Washington State, where the game probably get this. This is his second best rushing total of the year. 26 carries, 259 yards, and 4 touchdowns. That was his second highest rushing total. His best game was against Georgia State, the opener. He had 20 carries for 267 yards and 6 touchdowns. It's like when you play Madden, man. Ashton Jeanté is literally destroying anybody who tries to tackle him, and he is the reason that Boise State right now is sitting at 5-1 and is a top 20 ranked team in the nation. In ESPN's most recent ranking of top 25 college football players, he's number 1, but on most Heisman odds, he's actually number 2. They have Dylan Gabriel, quarterback of Oregon, higher. They still have Travis Hunter up there from Colorado. Jeanté is number 2. And that kind of blasphemous, if you have a running back who's averaging 10 yards a carry and his team 5-1, and his one loss is to the number 2 team in the nation, and they lost by 3, I find that kind of ridiculous. So Ashton Jeanté, justice for Ashton Jeanté. Final stats on the year are 250 carries for 2,300 yards and 32 touchdowns. I would say it's his Heisman race to lose. And so, yeah, Ashton Jeanté is I want to say it's Jeanté, and I feel really bad because I feel like I'm not getting it. But Ashton Jeanté is my Heisman favorite for the year. If you disagree with me, let me know why. He is not your Heisman favorite. But this has been the Versus Shoutout of the Versus Podcast, episode 2.1 with Slayton Huish signing off. See you guys next time.